Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth.
Diddy and his attorneys have filed what I would like to call their last attempt, a motion asking the judge to either throw away the Mann Act conviction completely or at the very least give him a brand new trial. This comes after an 8-week trial, a year behind bars, and a jury that cleared him of RICO and trafficking but still found him guilty of 2 Mann Act counts. Let's get into exactly what his lawyers are arguing because, baby, they threw the kitchen sink at this one. Diddy's lawyers are saying that the government never proved he transported anyone for prostitution. They claim the Mann Act shouldn't even apply here because what he was doing was basically arranging consensual sex and filming it for private PORN, not pimping or prostitution. They argue that no one in U.S. history has been charged this way under Section 2421A for simply funding travel and paying adult men who slept with his girlfriends. This is a clear case of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks. We are going to get into this case and so much more, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this case and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So Diddy's sentencing is just 28 days away, and with that being said, his team is doing everything they can to either throw out this Mann Act conviction or to give him a brand new trial, wasting not only the government's time, but we the people. So his team recently filed a reply memorandum of law in further support of defendant Sean Combs' renewed motion for judgment of acquittal or, in the alternative, a new trial. In this motion, they say the word prostitution isn't actually defined in the Mann Act. Diddy's team says back in 1910, prostitution meant incriminating sex outside of marriage, not strictly sex for money. The definition has changed a lot over time. They continue to say that if the court uses the 1910 meaning of prostitution in the Mann Act, it would make the law unconstitutionally vague. They say it doesn't cover Diddy because he didn't pay prostitutes directly, he paid entertainers, and sometimes people got money even if there was no sex. Bottom line, they're arguing that there was not enough proof that travel happened with the intent of prostitution. So they highlight testimony from not only Cassie Ventura, but also Jane Doe, where they call the men entertainers, not prostitutes. Also, they said that the escorts were sometimes paid after the fact, sometimes not, and even if sex happened, Diddy's lawyers say the prosecutors never showed his dominant intent at the time of travel was prostitution, and that's required under the law. So here's the thing, what Diddy's team is arguing is that what Diddy did with arranging these freak-offs, filming them and saving the footage should be treated like pornography production, not prostitution. In their words, PORN is a form of speech. As long as it's not obscene, pornography has First Amendment protection. Think about all of the legal adult films made in the U.S. They involve sex acts for money, but the court says that's protected expression because it's part of creating a film. His lawyers say that Diddy wasn't trafficking women, he was simply documenting consensual sexual encounters for his own expressive use. By Diddy filming and saving those tapes, they claim he was engaging in expressive conduct, which is a type of free speech. Again, I told y'all they are throwing spaghetti at the wall to try to see if it sticks. So a lot of people are asking, would this work? Would the judge accept it? Well, if the judge accepts this framing, the Mann Act conviction could collapse because you can't criminalize constitutionally protected speech. His lawyers point out that the government never argued that the tapes were obscene. That's key because obscene PORN, like child PORN or violent PORN, isn't protected, but consensual adult PORN is. They cite prior cases where courts agreed that even private recordings of sex acts can be a form of expression. Now, this approach is a bit risky because typically judges usually don't like comparing private SEX parties to legal PORN studios. Now, the prosecution already countered that Diddy wasn't making these movies for distribution or art. He was orchestrating prostitution, then filming it for his own personal gratification, and that's not the same as protected PORN production. Okay, so let's talk about spillover prejudice. So in a multi-count trial like Diddy's, which has RICO, trafficking, arson, the Mann Act counts, the jury hears evidence on all of the charges at once. Now, even if the jury later acquits on a big charge, all that ugly evidence, the drugs, the violence, the kidnapping, the arson, etc., is still in their heads. So the risk is jurors might convict on the similar charges, here the Mann Act, not because the evidence was strong, but because they were disgusted by everything else that they heard. This is called spillover prejudice. The bad vibes from one set of charges spill over and poison the jury's judgment on another. So if Diddy cannot be acquitted on the Mann Act charges, they are now pulling this stunt. His team says, look, the jury sat through 8 weeks of shocking evidence. They heard about violence, threats, a car explosion, trafficking, kidnapping, obstruction, and all of this was tied to counts that Diddy beat. They argue that the Mann Act counts were relatively narrow, just about travel for prostitution, but the jury couldn't separate them from the lurid RICO narrative. So basically what they're saying, the jurors are human. They saw a lot of dirt, they heard it, they had to watch it, and they cannot unsee it. They probably convicted Diddy on the Mann Act because he looked like a bad guy overall, not because the Mann Act evidence was airtight. Basically, they said Diddy's leaving here with something.
I'm leaving here with something. I'm leaving with something.
Diddy's team believes that if the Mann Act had been tried alone without the RICO, without the trafficking mess, the outcome might have been different. They want the judge to either vacate the conviction, which is the best case scenario, or give Diddy a new trial on the Mann Act alone with the bad character evidence kept out. But where the hell you gonna find the jury at that hasn't seen all of this with as big as this trial was? Were they going to Mars? Now, courts do recognize spillover prejudice as a real issue, but judges are reluctant to throw out jury verdicts unless the prejudice is extreme and clearly unfair. And the prosecution will argue that the jury followed instructions, they acquitted on most counts, which shows they could separate the evidence. Now, if the spillover was real, they would have convicted him on everything. Diddy is definitely fighting for his life, and his team is trying to give him his money's worth. What I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything going on with Diddy and this last ditch effort? Do you think it'll work, or do you think Judge Subramanian is just tired of the BS altogether? Leave a comment, and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. As always, thanks for watching, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.